Hey everyone, Mitch coming in from the Commander's Core Studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, I've got some great pickups for you. Cards that are down in price and you should know about them. Let's jump into these gems. So, first up, let's start off with cards that are just around $5. Now, outside of my budget, but might be around yours, and yeah, Maronar, a card that I never thought would actually be around $5. I mean, that card has been around 20 or 30 for a long time. A 2/3 rat rogue for 5 mana in black. All rats have fear. Tap, sacrifice a rat. Create X/1/1 black rat creature tokens or X the number of rats you control. Kind of like Krenko Mob Boss, but for rats, which is crazy cool and fun. Yeah, you gotta sacrifice one rat, but you're probably running relentless rats with it too. And yeah, you can make a ton of rats very quickly. And of course, with them having fear, do some disgusting things with that as well. Of course, as a commander, also in the 99 of a rat deck, it is fantastic. Around $5 right now for this version specifically. I'm pointing out the specific version, so pick it up. Moving on, if you like lands, cool. This one's a very good one. Nurturing Peatland, around $5 right now. I mean, again, these prices have been coming a little bit down, and when it comes to these kind of lands, they are super good. Tap, pay 1 life, add black or green. Pay 1 tap, sacrifice it, draw a card. Yeah, I mean, the life, you're in Commander, right? You can pay some life. I mean, don't do every single one of your lands with pain lands, but that's okay. What you can utilize, though, again, this for is late game. I need to draw a card. I got the perfect card off the top of my library because of my land, which takes up no spot in my deck. Next up, Teferi, Hero of Dominaria. If you like Planeswalkers, this is a very good one to have. Whether you just have, a Super Friends deck or a control build or whatever you have, this is a really cool one. 4 starting loyalty for Teferi, 5 mana and Azorius, +1, draw a card at the beginning of the next end step, untap to 2 lands. Who doesn't like extra mana? Okay, and cards. -3 for target non-land permanent into its owner's library, 3rd from the top. Yeah, go away for a bit, basically is what that is. And maybe go away permanently if that player ends up shuffling or you end up forcing them to shuffle, which is great, or mill them too. -8 though, you get an emblem with whenever you draw a card. Exile target permanent opponent controls. That is a I win the game type level of emblem. So yeah, a great card when it comes to finishing as well. And doubling season for a Planeswalker build. That is an auto emblem right there. Take opponents out. Finally, in the $5 cards, I always mess that up. Chivalry, chivalric. There we go. Alliance, we got there. Don't know why it's tough for me to say. Anyways, enchant for 2 mana and white. Whenever you attack with 2 or more creatures, draw a card. Pay 2, discard a card, create a 2/2 white and blue knight creature token with vigilance. Yeah, I mean, this card is good for a lot of reasons. Sure, I mean, if you're in a knight tribal deck or just if you want to make tokens, if you're in a go wide strategy, that's great. But also, yeah, drawing cards in white is definitely not the easiest thing, and this is a very low to the ground, easy to trigger enchantment that gives you a lot of card advantage throughout the game. Again, just attacking for 2 creatures. You got a go wide strategy. If you got a token-based strategy, this can be huge for you for some great, generation of card advantage throughout the entire game on a permanent type that is probably the most difficult to deal with overall when it comes to enchantments. Moving on to around $4. Here, we're just going to go down $1 each time. Okay, there we go. All right, Pattern of Rebirth. A super spicy, super old card. Enchantment Aura for 4 mana and great enchant creature. Whenever enchant creature dies, the creature controller may search the library for a creature card for that card on the battlefield, then shuffle your library. I said it's their library, because you can enchant any creature, but typically you're enchanting your own. I mean, I guess there could be a desperate scenario where this one of the players wait, I've got the perfect creature in my deck to stop that player who's going to win right now. Please enchant my creature, then I'll use a way to sacrifice it to go get that creature. Because I know that you've got Pattern of Rebirth in your hand somehow. So, yeah, there are scenarios like that. Sure, and those are few and far between, but fun. But most of the time, it's okay, I throw this on one of my creatures, I probably have a way to sacrifice them, and I tutor out my best creature out of my deck, and I probably win the game from there. Tutoring something into play is massive, and this is a huge card to do so. Also, yeah, aura-based strategy, you could just utilize it just for fun. Next up, speaking of fun for you, Ink Shield, around $4 right now as well. Instant for 5 mana and Orzhov. For all combat damage be dealt to this turn. For each 1 damage from this way, create a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying. This is the fog to end all fogs. I mean, this is basically hey, You were swinging at me and thought you were going to win the game? No, 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 no. I win the game. So basically, again, your opponents are like, oh, yeah, I'm going to hit you. And you're like, no, you're not. No, 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 no. And by the way, now I have an army that is massive. So again, an opponent swings out at you and tries to hit you for, lethal, let's say 20 damage, 40 damage, whatever it is. And all of a sudden you get lethal coming back at them. Again, instant speed out of nowhere. I love this card, and I really hope it would keep going down in price. We shall see. But yeah, I'm not crossing my fingers for that one because I don't think it's going to actually happen. So around $4, it's a very solid game-ending card. Next up, speaking of game-ending and solid, Beladros Witherbloom, around $4 right now as well. 4/4 Elder Dragon with flying for 7 mana in Golgari. Beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black-green pest creature token with. When this creature dies, you gain 1 life. Pay 10 life on tap all lands you control, activate only once each turn. Here's the thing. Again, we're in Commander, and life is a resource to use. And you know what? You're in green. One resource that you love, it's lands. It's mana. Awesome, okay? Use them again. Literally, only once each turn. You can do it on your opponent's turns as well. That is huge. And when it comes to that life, you'll gain it back, right? You're getting those pests out. You can gain life from those. But yeah, literally with each trip around the table, you're getting 4 1/1s. That is huge. Not just on your upkeep, but on every single player's upkeep. This is massive. So this is great in token decks. This is great in go-wide strategies. This is great in life gain. This is great in using and abusing your lands, essentially, for a ton of mana, like big mana decks. It's also great in dragon decks, too. It's a really cool card. And, of course, a really awesome commander. Next up, though, Aether Vial. A card that I never thought I would see around this price. Yeah, it is a really good card, right around $4 right now. Artifact for a single mana. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a charge counter on it. Tap, you may put a creature card with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on Aether Vial from your hand directly onto the battlefield. Now, there's a couple of different kinds of strategies that can work really well with this. Ones that have a lot of creatures that say the exact same amount of mana, because again, it has to be that exact amount. Also strategies that maybe can proliferate and manipulate those counters, or like upkeep strategies as well. But yeah, just being able to just cheat creatures into play throughout the game can be huge, especially if you get this down early. Yeah, being able to just be like, oh yeah, cool. Your turn's done. Your turn's done. Okay, right before my turn, I flash in this creature that you did not expect. Yay! And I didn't pay for it. And also, obviously, like, it makes your opponent's decisions when it comes to attacking, like, really difficult, because if they try to attack you, they have to take into account that you could just tap this and then put down a creature that takes their creature out and changes the entire circumstance of the board. So yeah, even if you don't have something in your hand that is a creature that you can put into play with this, it can still be very effective at deterring. So yeah, again, like, certain specific creature decks that have, like, creatures very similar CMC, essentially, or ones that can proliferate to manipulate those counters, or ones, of course, that can say, you know what? Let's just utilize it as a flash functionality as well. A very cool card. Next up, some cards that are around $3 right now. Academy Manufacturer. Yeah, this card is just going to keep getting more and more and more popular, I think. Around $3 is a good price for it right now. A 1/3 Assembly Worker for 3 mana. If you create a clue, food, or treasure token, instead create 1 of each. Those kind of tokens are here to stay. Wizards keeps making more and more of them, especially with treasures. But yeah, for the clue decks, for food decks, this is especially great because, yeah, treasures are, no offense to the other ones, the best out of all these kinds of tokens. Because all of a sudden, just getting extra mana generation whenever you're creating any kind of those other tokens is fantastic. It can really set you ahead of your opponents. But yeah, regardless, if you're in a treasure deck, getting extra clues, extra food can be great just to pad your life total with, with foods, or, actually draw some cards with clues. Or, of course, if you just have, like, a general strategy where, like, oh, yeah, I just want to get artifacts in play, and maybe that, like, pings my opponent when I have that, or just, like, the number of artifacts in play matters, or when I sacrifice artifacts in play, that matters. This can be really huge in kind of any deck, essentially, that runs clues, foods, or treasures in any significant way. Speaking of significant, Glasspool Mimic. I love this card, and I wish it was within my budget, but it might be within yours. 0/0 Shapeshifter Rogue for 3 mana in blue. Have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a Shapeshifter Rogue, and it's other types. And on the backside, well, it is an MDFC. Enters the battlefield, taps for a blue. So it is a card that does not take up any part of your deck. Again, it is a land. Okay, it takes up a small, insignificant portion of your deck. Yeah, okay, lands are significant. I'm very sorry. What I'm saying is, again, it is taking up a slot that wouldn't be there, essentially, and it is a clone effect for just 3 mana for, yes, just your creatures, but that's okay. That's amazing. And in many decks, that's usually what you want to clone anyway. So if you've got maybe some big creatures, maybe some creatures with some great ETBs, you get those as well. If you've got a commander with a great ETB or a great LTB, you can use and abuse it with this. So yeah, an amazing card that, again, I wish was budget friendly. Next up, Kra the Unredeemed, 3/3 demon for 5 mana. Does partner with Regna, which is cheaper. I believe it's cheaper. Anyways, pay a single black mana, sacrifice X creatures, cheaper money-wise, not mana-wise. Sacrifice X creature, target player draws X cards, gains X life, and then you get X counters on Kra the Unredeemed. Now, this is a card that is amazing in aristocrat-style strategies, go-wide strategies, token strategies. Hey, do you want to turn all those creatures into card draw? Awesome. Again, you literally, it is not a free effect, but it is an effect that you have to pay a single mana. Again, you're sacrificing X creatures. Again, so let's say someone board wipes, and you're like, oh, that's a bummer. Okay, well, at least I've got 1 mana available, so I'll pay my 1 mana, and I'll sacrifice all my creatures, and I'll draw that many cards. Yay! But yeah, more so in aristocrat style strategies where you're like, oh, okay, cool, I've got all these miscellaneous things in play that I want to sacrifice anyways. Cool, I'll pay a single black mana, sacrifice 10 creatures, draw 10 cards, and drain you for a total with my Blood Artist effects as well. And to really keep things going with that card draw. So it's an amazing one. Speaking of amazing, though, Coastal Breach, exactly $3 right now. Sorcery for 7 mana in total, but it's got Undaunted, which I wouldn't mind them trying to bring back in some kind of a way to see, like, you know, how that works and what they'd actually do with it. I haven't seen that in a while. Let me know in the comments below. I don't believe they actually printed anything with Undaunted for a while. Regardless, Undaunted is going to cost what's cast for each opponent. So basically, this just costs what? 1, 2, 3 opponents. 3 in a blue. So this is just 4 mana in total. Bounce all non-land permanents back to the owner's hands. That is a very cheap way to bounce a lot of non-land permanents. Very cheaply again. Yeah, later in the game it costs a bit more, but you'll have a bit more mana to utilize it. So it's a great panic button to be like, yeah, let's get rid of those things. Or again, for a specific deck, maybe a control deck where you're like, I got nothing in play anyways. Great. Or for a deck that actually wants to bounce things back to your hand, that can be great too. Moving on to cards around $2, we've got Pernicious Deed coming in at $1.90. And enchantment for 3 mana in Golgari. Pay X, sacrifice it, destroy each artifact, creature, and enchantment. The converted mana costs X or less. This is a very good card. The one that always comes to mind is like Muldrotha. This is a repeat board wipe in Muldrotha, which is just gross and amazing. That being said, it is one that, hey, you just get into play, and this can be a giant deterrent for your opponents basically doing anything, because if they put down artifacts, creatures, or enchantments, they're like, I know that ticking time bomb is over there, and I don't want to lose this, so I choose not to play anything. So it can be like a deterrent in a way, but also, of course, just a great way to be like, all right, I'll throw this down, and when I need to, I will sacrifice it to get rid of all those pesky things that I do not like. So it's a very flexible board wipe in that way. And of course, it can be very flexible in the amount of mana that you put into it. So it can kind of be one-sided. If you've got some big mana value things in play, your things can survive and your opponent's things will get taken out. And keep in mind, actually, yeah, if you really have a problem with tokens, and even if you're tapped out, you can pay 0 and be like, oh yeah, tokens, go away. Next up, Champion's Helm, a very, very, very good card. Equip for 3 mana, equip 1. Equip creature gets +2/+2. As long as equip creature is a legendary, it has hexproof. Here's the thing. Protect your commander. Yeah, this is basically what this kind of a card is. It's protect your commander. Sure, +2/+2 is nice. And yes, for like equipment strategies, for Voltron strategies, yeah, that's very relevant. But the most relevant thing with this entire thing is, hey, your commander, usually your deck revolves around it. Cool, protect it. And of course, if you got like a legendary tribal deck as well, then yeah, protect whatever you need to protect. It's a very cheap way, again, just equip 1 to get that on there. Runic Armasaur, a very cool card. 2/5 dinosaur for 3 mana in green. Whenever opponent activates an ability of a creature or land that isn't a mana ability, you may draw a card. I feel like more and more these days we're getting more and more creatures with activated abilities that aren't land abilities, or mana abilities, I should say. And also commanders especially that have those too. So yeah, you can draw a good amount of cards with this. And against a decent blocker, again, a 2/5 for 3 mana. And of course, a very relevant creature type. If you've got a dinosaur deck, it's a very, very good card for that. A shoe-in for some great card draw for you. Next up, Gauntlet of Power. Artifact for 5. Enters the battlefield, choose a color. Whatever color that you're playing. Creatures of the chosen color get +1/+1. Alright, basic land is tapped for the mana of the chosen color. Its controller adds 1 additional mana of that color. Now, this is an effect that affects everyone. So if your opponents have, again, forest, and you said forest, there you go. I mean, forest, you said green, not forest. Anyways, if you've got the color that the other opponents have, sure, that lines up with them too. But this is going to help you more than it helps everyone else, because your entire deck is going to be built around this, of course, where you have, again, all mountains, all forests, all islands, all swamps, all plains, whatever it is, doubles up your mana, which is massive, and also pumps your team as well. So this is a great card again if you need a burst of mana, a giant boost of mana for your deck. Cool. And yeah, the little, pump effect can be great too, especially for certain kinds of strategies that really enjoy Anthem effects, and that can really help them out. So like a go wide strategy could utilize this as well. Yeah, it's a really good card for monocolor strategies. Finally, though, cards within my budget, each around $1. We've got Ignoble Hierarch, a 0/1 Goblin Shaman with Exalted for a single green mana, and it can tap for any of Jun's colors, black, red, or green. This is a great mana dork, low to the ground, again, can tap for most of your colors, if not all your colors, depending on what your deck build is. And again, with Exalted, it's just a free pump effect for one of your creatures that is swinging. So that is a great way to just, well, ramp early and also pump later and just kind of be a good presence throughout the game for you. Next up, Crush of Tentacles. We talked about the power of bounce spells, bouncing all non-land permanents. This can do that and then some. Sorcery for 6 mana in total, but it's got a surge cost for just 5. So if you cast another, or a teammate, I guess, sure, cast another spell this turn, cool, you can cast it for just 5 mana. So yeah, if you've got a deck that's maybe a little bit more spell slingery and you got some low to the ground things to cast, or just like rampant growth plus this, cool. Yeah, you can actually do that for the surge cost. And essentially, you also get an 8/8 Octopus. Again, so you literally just cleared the board, and you made the biggest creature on the board. I mean, it probably would have been the biggest creature for you, bounced the board, but still a giant threat for you. After you just cleared up things, it can be absolutely amazing. And yeah, Sea Monster Tribal, they love their octopuses. Next up, Sepulchral Primordial. This one is one that like fluctuates above $1, less than $1, above $1, less than $1. Right now, it's right around $1. It is a very, very, very solid card. Every single time it comes out in Commander games that I play, it makes a big impact. 5/4 Avatar with Intimidate for 7 mana in black. When it enters the battlefield for each opponent, you may put up to 1 target creature card from that player's graveyard on the battlefield you control. Basically, a mass reanimation effect. It is a 5/4 with Intimidate, which is quite nice. But yeah, hey, your best creature, your best creature, your best creature to your graveyards. They are mine now. It's an ETB that can easily be used and abused because, yeah, blink effects can do it. Feign death type effects where it's like, oh, this is about to die. Bring it right back. Get that ETB again. There's no cast trigger requirement. Yes, this can be a game-changing card. Speaking of game-changing for the right deck, Early Harvest, right around $8 as well. Hits it for 3 mana in green. Target player untaps all basic lands they control. Yeah, if you're like me and you play a ton of basics, some decks exclusively basics, but yeah, a ton of basics. Even in 5-color decks, I've got an absurd amount of basics. Yeah, being able to cast this and basically not double up your mana, but nearly in a turn unexpectedly, this can really help you out, especially if you got maybe some copy spells as well, maybe something like Swarm Intelligence in play, and you get absurd burst of mana. You can do a crazy, crazy, crazy play that can really take your opponents by surprise. Yeah, this is a really good card. There's only so many ways that can like untap your lands, and this is a great way to do so for the right deck. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it, and of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.